Here we go. I am so excited to be live with you ladies after a lot of weird technical difficulties, not unlike trying to figure things out in the wilds of Maine. But I am so excited to be here with Ciarra and Caitlin for their post-game interview where we get some behind the scenes knowledge and we get to hear from them directly. There's so much that you guys and also I didn't know about their games and about their journeys. And so I'm super excited to find out a little more about both of their experiences in this game, because I was kind of specifically sequestered at like the challenges and the tribals, but there was so much that went on beyond that. So to kick it off, first I'd like to go a little bit before the game even started. Caitlin, you're from New Hampshire. Ciarra, you're in Missouri. How on earth did the two of you find out about this game and join us as two of our out-of-staters?
Who do you want to go first?
You got it. You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So for myself, I am friends with Tricky, who played his season of Surviving Maine with Brandon. And I played Survivor Buffalo, and Tricky was one of the producers for my season of Survivor Buffalo. So he posted in our group chat about, hey, my friend is putting together this charity event. And I was like, that'd be awesome. Maine sounds cool, especially in the summer. I'm sure it's cooler than it is in Missouri. So just signed up.
I found out just from the All About Orgs page on Facebook. I think they posted it there, and I was like, oh, it looks fun.
Oh my God, I love it. And y'all just dove right in. And I'm so glad that you did. You guys both played a lot of game, both made the jury, so made it through all 4 days of the experience. So lots to hear about from you. And both of you kind of had a little bit of a parallel journey in the game. Okay, I'm so sorry if you can hear these crazy sirens right now.
What'd you do, Alicia?
Nothing, I swear. Sorry, I'm coming from New York, so people are just like losing their minds outside. Okay, so you guys had a little bit of a parallel journey. You both started out on the same green Sorrento tribe. You both got swapped into the new pink Palmyra tribe, and then you also both made merge and then jury. So we'll just kind of start from the beginning. First of all, let's start with your green tribe, Sorrento. You guys were on the winningest tribe. So I would just love to hear about, how that went. Like day one out of the gate, you were already all you did was win, 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 no matter what. So what was that like being kind of on top from the get-go?
It felt really good. I mean, obviously you don't want to lose, but at the same time, there's always that thought in the back of your mind, we're painting a huge target on our backs. These people are going to hate us. And then I went back and heard Alex's rant about the Green Tribe on his tribal council, and I just felt so bad. That was never our intent, obviously, to rub it in anyone's face that we won. But because we were winning so much, we just had a lot of downtime to just hang out, get to know each other, and we didn't really talk a ton of game on the Green Tribe. Nobody really did much.
No, I mean, it definitely felt good to win so much, especially, okay, the one thing that I was so happy that we won was the pillows.
I was going to say,
I was obsessed with the pillows.
I was literally obsessed with the pillows. Everybody was tiptoeing around what they wanted, and they were like, oh, I guess I'll get this. I was like, give me a pillow. I will take a pillow. But I definitely I was vocal at camp about how I actually felt really terrible for the pink tribe and how they were doing, and people were like, Caitlin, it's fine, just relax, you have what you have, just think about the privileges you've gotten from winning so much. So it was definitely good, but I did see the perspective of the other tribes, and I felt really bad for
Caitlin and I talked a lot about how many women were getting voted out, and I'm sure we'll get into the Girls Alliance stuff later on, but it was definitely something that we talked about on the Green Tribe, who's going out and what do we think the dynamics are on the other tribes. And we just had a lot of Caitlin made a fishing pole out of a stick and some twine and an earring hook.
Emily's earring.
So we just had a lot of downtime. But
You did, yeah, and
nice.
that's actually one of the things I was going to ask about. So, all you guys could do was, wonder about the tribe dynamics, but then kind of either have it confirmed or denied as more and more people got voted out on the other tribes. But with you, your tribe was a little more shrouded in mystery when it came to the other tribes. So they kind of had to like give you a narrative without knowing anything. So they gave you nicknames. So Ciarra was Puzzle Girl and Caitlin was like Fisher Girl or like Fisherman or something. And so can you guys just speak as to why that might have been? Why did you get those nicknames?
Well, obviously the puzzle thing with the first challenge when Chris picked me to do the puzzle, I didn't realize that I did it that fast. I didn't think I was going that quickly, but I guess it stood out to the other tribes.
For sure. And Caitlin, you made a whole fishing line, which I did not realize included an earring. Were you like really, really trying to get some fish?
No, like I was. Like we had gotten a slug and we put a slug on there.
Oh my
it was
God.
already dead from the fire, like it had already gotten burned. So I didn't like kill any slugs in the process. But we like had made out of like one of the staples. We made like a little hook. Like it was legit, but the fish happened to be like literally this big.
They were like bigger, or they were like smaller than the slug. So
they were smaller. They were probably smaller than the sardines that people had eaten earlier. So,
oh my God, amazing! And like and you actually like, did you go in the pond to like try and fish, or did you stay outside of it?
We stood in the pond, but then the fish started eating our feet, like the ones at the pedicure places, and it kind of freaked us out. And so we were just like, no, can't do it.
Because they were like surrounding us, and it was really actually super creepy.
Yes, it sounds like it was, and it looks like it was. That for anyone that didn't get the best view of the pond in my live streams, it was like real dark and real stagnant looking, and like that was. We as the production were hypothesizing on if anyone would like venture in or not, and we were shocked to find out it was like all the green girls just like in there hanging out. We were like, oh
Emily was the one immediately was like, I'm getting my feet wet, I'm going in. Yeah, so she went full on. None of the guys, I don't think any of the guys got in.
Doesn't surprise me. So you did win a lot. You didn't have tons of strategizing to do, but both of you still ended up in a majority alliance should things have happened. And in part, that might have been, so Ciarra, is Brandon is shouting out that Ciarra was always walking off with people. Ciarra, I saw you and Ellen walking off a while ago, and I was like, oh, hi. And you were like, we're talking strategy like that. So I was rooting for the pair of you too. But just talk us through kind of the moments that you did take advantage of, the two of you, and trying to like grasp at a little bit of game here and there. Because clearly you guys did something right amid all of like the tranquility and like not having to do much, because you both ended up in a really good position on that first tribe.
You want to take it, Caitlin? Or
I mean, pretty quickly we had formed a pretty solid 4, and that was really the only strong connections I had made right off the bat. It was me, Chris, Alan, and then Ciarra here. So I felt like us 4 were really strong. There was already like an obvious, like every person was saying, okay, Jody's going to be out first. So then after that, it's a 4-3. We choose what happens. Granted, no idols. So it was just a pretty easy, like, okay, this is how it is. I'd say it was probably set within, what do you think, like the first 4 hours?
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Alan and I made a final 2 during that challenge where we won the peanut butter and jelly. Like while we were running, Alan was like, I got you to the end. I was like, okay. So we just made a final 2 while jogging down that road. I'm surprised I had enough breath to like talk, but we made it. And then I brought in Caitlin and Chris because Caitlin and I vibed immediately. Like we just hit it off. We were both like ready to do things. And a lot of the other people were like, oh, let's just stick around camp. And I was like, I want to play. So.
Yeah. And I think both of you kind of had really similar reputations as like strategists in this game that were really like, thinking through things and constantly weighing options and kind of like running numbers in your head. So you guys want to talk a little bit to
that? Was more Caitlin than me, I think. I have a hard time thinking from like multiple angles. But Caitlin was like, okay, but if this happens, then this number will be here and we can be the swing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, that's amazing.
Yeah. um I think like at least for me, like I really like when people underestimate me. So I mean, like even Rob said once we were in the jury phase, he was like, "Oh, I didn't really see you as a strategist. I saw you as someone who was just here to have a good time." And I was like, "That's what you're supposed to think. Like that's how."
Yeah.
Like
Caitlin definitely used me as a shield because I think my social game was like way out front initially, and then with the puzzles, it like didn't help at all. So she definitely took the lead as far as strategy, but I think people probably thought I was the one running it when in reality, I think Caitlin was the one really planning out where we were going next.
Yeah, I like really didn't want to lay it on too thick to people because like that is, you know, I'm coming for you soon, which is why you got so many votes at tribal councils out of the blue.
Yeah, I love it. It was really fun on production to hear, Caitlin, that you specifically were like such a strategist behind the scenes. And we were like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because we only got like pockets of who was doing what. But like the overall arching theme with you was always like, she's running the numbers, she's strategizing, she's like hardcore planning. And so we were like super excited to see, you know, how kind of things would end up for you and how you would navigate and steer things in your direction. Which was really cool. And kind of to go back a little bit, but to tie that in, when you guys had your alliance on green, you know, were you all, a 4 out of 8 is great, but did you guys have like other priorities maybe outside of that alliance too, that kind of looking to the future, you were trying to like look ahead or guard them? And who might those people have been?
So Emily and I kind of have like a tangential relationship before the game. She is good friends with a good friend of mine, Taylor, who I think also Brandon knows from Surviving Maine. I think she did some of the production side. So she connected us before the game, and we kind of literally like 2 or 3 messages of like, hey, if I hear your name, I'll let you know, kind of thing. And that was pretty much it. So I brought her into the 4 as like a 5th member, just to kind of get those numbers on our side if anything were to go wrong. Rob was always really, really quiet, and we couldn't really get a read on him where he was at as far as how much he wanted to play. Jody was a little bit on the outs, and then Damien just didn't want to talk any game at all. Like I one time said to him, like, so what do you think about like if we take, you know, if we have to go to tribal, then let's maybe Jody? And he was like, I don't want to talk about it until it happens. I was like, okay.
I mean, at least for me, my priorities really were in that 4-person group in the beginning, but I definitely would have wanted to protect Emily the most out of everybody else at that point as well. Because I mean, we got our feet eaten together by fish, so I just felt like I had more time to talk game with her than anyone else outside that 4.
Sure. And then one last thing on the Green Tribe that we've kind of alluded to Pink having a problem with, but this is your chance to just like set the record straight for everyone else. So at one point, I mean, you guys had won so much that the immunity idol practically had its own, you know, place above your mantle in your tarp. And you walked in and it was on a staff with like some flowers and like some pretty, you know, decoration. And it really like fired Pink up. They really felt like it was like a slap in the face, like it was a show off gesture. And I didn't see it that way. I was just like, oh, they're trying to make it nice. They're like out in nature. But, you know, so like, what was the intention behind that, or like, or not? Like, you know, just kind of what was the story there to just
so there was like this tree as you walked into our camp where we would just set it every time we came in, and it really wasn't a big deal. But again, we had a lot of downtime. So Damien was making like a basket. He was like weaving together these fronds, and like Caitlin and I were making the fishing pole. And then from that, Emily started working on the the immunity idol. Like she just was like sticking it on top of this stake, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick these flowers and wrap it around," and we were like, "Oh, that looks so cute." And I think the intent literally was just to like show what we did, like a little kid with our art project, like, "Hey, look what we did." But I did not ever intend for it to be like a slap in the face to anybody. Obviously it was taken that way, and of course we apologize, but yeah, Emily did all of that, and then we were like, let's bring it. So
cool. And thus kind of concluded your time on the winningest tribe, and then you guys were swapped, and you both swapped over to the new pink tribe, which was not quite as winningy at all. And so you guys had a little bit more of an interesting journey at that point. I remember one of the first challenges that you guys had to do as a swap tribe ended up being the one where you had to like hold the weights above your heads, and you two were actually right next to each other. It was like Rob, Caitlin, Ciarra. So talk to me a little about that. Like, was there a strategy behind it? You guys like being that close together, and kind of like what was the thought with that challenge in particular?
So we had set it up where each person who didn't feel very confident with their strength would be next to someone who felt like they could maybe take on a second bag. So Caitlin was set next to Rob because she could pass hers off to Rob. She had a shoulder injury before. And then Chris had just had surgery on his clavicle literally 5 weeks before. And so we were like, you need to probably pass it off as soon as you need to. So I was there so that I could take on his, because I felt pretty strong with that as well. So we just set it up that way. And maybe we shouldn't have stuck with all the green together and then the others together, but like that just ended up where we had that number of people.
Yeah. And kind of talk to me about like all the green together on new pink. How was that? Because there were some interesting decisions made and things surrounding that. So take it away.
Caitlin, you go. That was you.
So I want to apologize in advance, Rob. So
love you.
So
sorry,
Chris was gone. So we're down. If you guess pink is probably going to go with blue at this point. It's 4-3. I don't want any of the girls from the original green to be going. Like at this point, I think that night, me and you had made a final 2. I'll get back to that. I don't. But basically, what had happened was, okay, the girls can't leave. How are we gonna get past this vote? Obviously, they're gonna pick off a green person. So we thought, let's offer Rob up. Let's say, hey, we want a girls' alliance, which we had been talking about for a while. We were very vocal, even on our other green, talking like in front of like everybody, saying like, oh, a lot of girls are getting picked off. I don't like that. So then we match up with them. Stephanie actually comes up to me first and she goes, have you noticed all the girls are getting picked off? And I'm like, yes. So this was the perfect time. We're in the bathroom. We decide we're going to say Rob. I believe you said Rob to other people, so I didn't end up having to say that.
Yeah.
And then basically the move from there was, okay, so you'll get John out next. And then like I wouldn't have done anything in the world to go against Chris, but Chris could have been the next logical option if we had lost again. And it just kind of like made sense. Like this is how all the girls from this new pink tribe were going to merge in jury.
So we genuinely wanted to do a girls thing, and we had offered up Rob for that purpose, because we were like, listen, we get that you probably don't trust us and we have the numbers here, but like we really want to work with the girls. So you're welcome to take out Rob. That's one of our numbers, quote unquote. So that can prove to you guys that we really want to work with you and going forward. So that was truly our intent. It didn't really turn out that way.
No.
So we ended up going for John because, I think, so John was very loud and we could hear him. from anywhere he was. We could hear everything he said. So he took Caitlin and Rob off to the side and was talking, how you do, making alliances, like, even if it's not really true, he was saying things about like, I want to work with you guys, blah, 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 and kind of implying that he'd be willing to, take out one of his people or whatever. Anyways, it just happened that I was doing Katie's hair, braiding it for her, and then Stephanie and Sarah were right there. And so Katie was like, are you hearing this? Did he just say what he said? And then he happened to say like Sarah's name at the time. And again, I don't know if that even was his intent or like if he was just saying it to say it, just to like keep himself.
Right.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. Either way, the girls, all three of them kind of got fired up about like, we can't work with him if he's just going to like give us all away, even if he is lying right now and doesn't want to flip on us. If we tell him our plan, he's going to broadcast it to everyone because he speaks very loudly. So then it kind of flipped to John.
And just kind of like, as I said, so John in some of his confessionals was pretty vocal about like really liking all the guys on the original Blue and feeling like they were his people and like he was really tight with all of them, but never super made mention of like any of the women on Blue caring about them. So I wouldn't have been surprised if he was sincere about voting out Ciarra, because as far as I was aware, he did not feel like a tight bond with her or Steph, or any of the Blue women. So
Katie is asking in the chat. Yep, there we go. We were 100% going to go with the girls and vote out Rob. Like that next challenge. So what happened was, and Caitlin can speak to this too, but that next challenge with the colors and the blindfolds, we all kind of thought that Sarah had maybe thrown that challenge because it was just so off. And we felt like, maybe that was her plan the whole time, was to like throw it and then have Justin pick her to go to exile so she couldn't be voted out. You know what I mean? So once they picked her, we were trying to.
That was such a sketchy time.
I know. So we were trying to get Sarah to pick Angela to go to exile because we were wanting to work with the women. And so we were like, let's save a woman. Like take Angela, you can talk to her about the girls thing and we can get together. And she hesitated so much and then immediately picked Justin to go with her. And so we were like, well, she's obviously not
and we actually said to her, do not pick Justin. Do not pick Justin.
Yeah, and that was for, just as a reminder to the viewers, that was the challenge where there were all those colors on the grid, and Ciarra was the one trying to order them at the table, and Sarah was the whisperer giving like the colors to the people that were blindfolded and went back and forth. And Sarah like several times like messed up. And it was kind of discovered throughout the time that she was giving wrong information. And so it became like really a sketchy thing that they were like, did she throw this because she was giving these wrong hints and she was the only one that could like give the info?
Well, and she was very, very adamant about wanting to be the whisperer. Like from the second we saw it, she was like, I feel like I need to be the whisperer. I want to be the whisperer. And so combined with her, I think she told us like the second row twice in a row. And so all of them were off from there. So when we went back, they were still coming up, like not even just moved over. They were like the wrong orders.
Colors.
So
Yellow versus
I
green.
was just like, there's no freaking way that it was that wrong. And obviously I don't know if she intended to throw it at all, and she said she didn't, but that made us feel very sketched out, combined with the idea that then she decides to take a guy to exile with her that she had been working with previously. And so that just felt to us like, well, she was never intending to go with the girls. So we need to stick with our green numbers because the girls thing is obviously not happening. That's literally when it switched. So we had never intended to take out any of the girls.
I have to disagree on a little point there. I was still going to stick with the girls even past that. Yeah. What had happened was we got back to camp. Now Sarah's not there. And hi. And they said we talked to the green and they were like, oh, let's vote Stephanie. And then we were trying to protect Stephanie. So we were like, no, let's vote Katie. But we weren't actually going to vote Katie because we pulled each other aside and we said, okay, we're actually still going to stick with the girls, right?
Yeah,
and this is like bang, bang. And then we talked to Stephanie and Stephanie's like, yeah, she's throwing your name out there. Like Katie's saying your name. So then we kind of like gave each other the look like, there's no way we can stick with the girls. Like, this makes no sense to stick with them now. And then also with the kind of sketchiness of what had just happened with Ciarra, it kind of like broke everything apart at that point.
And I think Stephanie had told Katie that I was saying her name. And then therefore Katie decided to say my name. And then Stephanie told me that Katie was saying my name. And so it ended up where we were just not communicating, obviously. Yeah, Katie is
stirring that
pot. Stephanie, she's good. Like, she had me fooled. Apparently, afterwards, when we got to the jury phase, Stephanie said, I was intending to work with Blue the whole time. So she played us, but I think if we had voted together a couple times and like stuck to the girls thing, I think by the time we got to merge, we could have really had something going. But
and it would have been less of a green versus blue thing, which also would have been a very positive factor.
Yeah, no, it's so fun to hear what comes out and what it's all that like, what could have been, like, had we only known. And that's why we do these, because it's such a fun time to just reveal and kind of be like, oh my god, I have no idea. But so let's talk about the next phase, because ultimately the girls broke up. Katie was booted, and then you guys went into the merge, and you guys made merge, and there was a little bit of a twist. We did the merge survivor auction instead of a merge feast. So if you guys, I don't know, if Caitlin might have won the most things out of like anyone at that auction.
I think she was trying to just get some food. She was not feeling good. I think you had already thrown up once, right?
Yeah.
At that point. So we were like, just get some like real food in your stomach, not just raspberries that we picked from around.
Get some real food, and then she wins a whoopie pie.
Yeah,
not real food. But I remember going in, like, you were so excited about the caffeine because you got like the iced Starbucks coffee, and you were immediately chugging that, and you got to share the whoopie pies with some friends, and then there was a little downtime. And then there was a little more downtime, and it kind of ultimately ended up in your medevac, Caitlin. So if you just want to speak to that experience and kind of what that was like for you, kind of having to deal with it.
I mean, it was like towards the end of day 3 when all this had happened, and like I had been like kind of slowly, like I had woken up that day and had actually felt like I was quite literally drunk. Like I couldn't find my way back to camp. I felt like I couldn't walk in a straight line. I couldn't like remember things correctly. And then it just kind of like spiraled where I was like vomiting, and like I thought maybe like literally like I think at one of the tribal councils, I was like trying to eat some rice, and like my stomach just like wouldn't, like I was just completely out of it. And then after I had part of a sandwich after the auction, I got sick again. And then I was like, something is definitely wrong. Like, this is not normal. Like, this was like probably 2 hours apart, 3 hours apart that I was vomiting, and like just couldn't, like I just knew like there was something going on, and they were like, yeah, you should be pulled from the game. Which was obviously really devastating. Like, as much as like I had spent like so many days in, I knew I was leaving behind so many allies who like really would have needed me as a number, and I was like crying, and they were like, no, and I think you were saying, no, it's gonna be fine, like this is good for you, and I was like, but this is bad for you, that's why I'm crying.
I know. She was so upset. I felt so bad because obviously your health is more important than a game. It's hands down, there's nothing like that's ridiculous. But she was so upset that she was going to mess up our games, and I was just like, go, what, why are you here, go. So of course we were waiting to hear about her, and I think you, Alicia, and Brandon were trying to kind of communicate with her as she went to the hospital, and we were all kind of just waiting to see like what's the next step. Are we gonna keep playing tonight? Are we gonna wait till tomorrow? Are we gonna I have no idea.
Yeah, it was really tough, I think, for everyone involved. We were, production was devastated to see her have to be removed because we knew, she was probably one of two people in like the best positions in the entire game at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had so much mileage left in the game. Like everything was kind of coming up Caitlin. And so we were so devastated that she worked so hard for 3 days to get herself in that like paramount position and finally maybe just get to see everything come to fruition. And then it was just like yanked out from under her. And so we were very sad from that aspect. We were very sad because her time in the game was cut short and she was so passionate about it. And, and so we were really sad, and Caitlin, you had tons of support. You had a lot of people in the chat that were like wishing you all of the best once we finally kind of addressed it, and a lot of people were pulling for you. And we're very grateful to you because Caitlin was all about like keeping the game going. She was like, you have to go on. Like, I'll be there in the morning to like serve as the jury member. Like, let me know anything I've got to do, I'm doing it. So like Caitlin through and through was like a completely dedicated and like badass survivor. And we're so grateful that, we said, there's this thing in Survivor called like the mayor of the jury, and it's whoever the first jury member is. And it's often very important because that person sets the whole tone for the jury, and they can kind of steer it into like a bitter jury or a jury that listens or a jury that like really keeps an open mind. And so we were like, this is so horrible that this happened this way, but wow, what better person we have had for mayor of the jury than Caitlin. So we were really grateful to you that you set the whole tone, and you had such an amazing attitude despite the shitty situation. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, and so speaking to, Caitlin having the game like in the palm of her hand, basically, what did your plans look like, moving forward? What were you thinking? How were you going to try and navigate into the end game? Like, what could have been is what we're all dying to know.
So I think Stephanie really did want to work with us. I mean, she and I kind of bonded going back and forth to the bathroom a couple times, and she like gave me a big hug and she was like, I'm so glad I get to work with you. And so I felt very good about that. And I think our plan initially, Caitlin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our plan was to work with Green and bring in Stephanie and vote out Justin. We had decided to split that vote between Justin and Albie. This was after Caitlin left, after we figured that out, but and hope that we had enough because Waylon and Angela were planning on voting with us at that point. We felt like we had brought in Pink too. I don't know. But before Caitlin left, I think we would have had those numbers without Waylon and Angela and been able to get out one of the blue. I think. Caitlin, you have anything to add? Like, what was your plan?
I mean, what was my plan?
Yeah.
Probably flip on you guys. I couldn't see any way. I couldn't see that if there was any way that they wouldn't have wanted someone from Green out, and I would not have wanted that person to be me. I probably would have tried to do some tomfoolery, like with the Rob situation, but at Merge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damn, that would have been fun to watch. I know.
Oh, we would have all.
Although I really would have. Although I actually really would have liked Justin out, mostly because when we were sitting at the little merge thing, him and Barry were sitting there and they didn't think I heard them because they were on the other side of the circle. And Justin looked at me and he whispers, I heard him from the other side of the circle, she's going to be an easy first boot. I was like, you're going to be an easy first boot. Which is why, like, Justin could be that out there with his game, and then he still, like, got all the way to the end. Like, I was impressed by that.
For sure. And so let's see. So let's kind of go into the rest of Ciarra's game.
The one more night.
Yes, the one more night. So we had our winner Albie really wanted to know. So as you ended up being the vote the next day, you had written Albie's name down, and so he was just curious, like, was that a full like plan that you thought was actually happening? Was that like one of those votes where you're like, you're gonna win, so I'm voting for you? Like what was the plan behind all of that?
So our plan again was to split our votes between Albie and Justin, hoping that Justin would go because we knew Albie had an idol. So we were kind of hoping to flush that, but also like, Justin's our main target. We didn't know if he'll play it on Justin. They were pretty close. So we were planning on the guys all voting for Justin and the girls voting for Albie. So at the time, the girls were me, Stephanie, and Angela. And then the guys were going to be the 3 green, Rob, Chris, and Damien, and then Waylon. So it would be 4-3. And then how many is that? I can't count. 3, right? Another 3 would have been for me. So I didn't know that I was their target. In hindsight, I probably should have like figured that out because Justin literally never spoke one word to me. So I should have figured that out. But I think I don't think Waylon and Angela were ever planning on voting with us. Even though I had spoken to Angela about a girls thing and how we didn't want to vote out another girl, and she seemed very into it, but whatever. And then I think they pulled Stephanie in and was like, listen, you're not going to have the numbers. Waylon and Angela are not with you. Don't do this. And flip to me. So it is what it is. But that was the plan.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much. And then let's see. So both of you served on the jury after that. Caitlin, you had a shout out from Alan in his interview that he absolutely loved your jury question. He was like, I'm gonna have to start using that from now on. It was to ask each of the jurors, okay, so each of the FTC people, like, okay, whose votes do you have? And I loved it too, because really when it comes down to it, if you don't have the votes and you're sitting up there, like, what are you even doing, wasting people's time? So kind of let me know, like, what made you think of that, and why was like that the focus of your jury question?
I've definitely used it before, and I always think it's very informative. It's an interesting question because it either offends people that you didn't pick them because they were like, I was gonna pick you and now I'm not, or like it offends people because you did get picked. Like, no way I'm ever voting for you. Like, what? So it just kind of like,
you think I'm gonna give you my vote? I
just think it kind of stirs stuff up, and I like that it was close to the front because it really kind of sets the vibe for like who they feel, they start thinking about it, who they feel like they need to like kind of pander to. That's why I do it. Kind of stirs up the drama.
I love it. I think it's an excellent exercise in self-awareness, and you kind of immediately see who has it and who doesn't based on their answers. So it was fabulous. So let's see. So we have a couple more things. I think we're going to go into the round of rapid fire questions.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to ask some questions as soon as I pull them up. And you guys will just answer kind of the first thing that pops into your head. Let's see. Okay, so we can just go ahead and let's see. We'll go Caitlin answer and then Ciarra answer for the first one, and then we can go reverse the second one if we want to do it like that. So, okay. So the first question, who is your best ally in the game?
It's right here.
Hey.
Same.
I love it. Oh my God.
By the way, whatever.
Very cute. Let the record show that Caitlin and Ciarra have pointed at each other. I love it. Let's see. So we'll just keep it with Caitlin and Ciarra because that's easier. Okay. So person you wish you had met in the game. which is interesting because you both made merge. But who do you wish you had kind of met and then spent more time with?
I would have really liked to work with Barry.
So for me, it probably would have been Patrick, because Patrick and I also played Survivor Buffalo together. And so we were hoping we would get to a merge or a swap where we could play together, and it just never happened.
Gotcha. What was your favorite challenge that you participated in?
Only because I feel like it was like my shining grace was like that stand on the wheel thing where I had to like balance on it.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was a struggle for everyone's team but yours.
Slow and steady, man. We had a good plan with that one.
Yeah.
For me, I think I was proudest of myself for getting through that challenge, like where we won the peanut butter and jelly, just because I was like, I am not a runner. I have no stamina whatsoever. So the fact that I made it through that without like completely making us lose, I felt pretty good about that. It was kind of fun. Of course, the puzzles, I love puzzles. And by the time we got to that challenge with the 3 puzzles, and I was like, the slide puzzle is my puzzle. So I was already dubbed Puzzle Girl, so I figured I'd just lean into it.
Just blow it out. Yeah. Let's see. What was a favorite kind of behind the scenes moment or like funny moment or thing that like didn't make the air, so to speak? Caitlin?
My favorite moment is it was during Katie's vote, and we had pretty much confirmed that it was going to be Katie with all of us. And I don't know what was going on, whether we were just like hysteric because it was day 3 and it was hot, or if it was that Chris just didn't want us to have time to change the vote. But he looks at all of us with crazy wild eyes and he goes, we got to pack up our stuff right now. We're going to tribal council. We got to get over there. So we're all like running back to camp. We all pack up our stuff. We're standing there and we're like we rush to get it all. And then we're like, did anyone even ask us to go to tribal council? Like we're standing there for a minute and we're like all
he
staring at
was
each
wild.
other.
Like his eyes were like this.
we have to pack it up right now.
You have to get Stephanie to tell that story whenever she comes on, because Stephanie makes that story. It's perfect.
I will definitely ask her. She'll be coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And Ciarra, what about you? Favorite behind the scenes moment?
So mine has to do with the fishing thing. Where Caitlin and I were over there with the fishing pole trying to catch fish. And I think it was the Pink Tribe was like brought down when they were doing like the double tribal council back to back. And they had brought them down kind of where we were fishing, and we were just standing there. And Robbie was like, hey, can you guys go back to your camp? And Caitlin, I guess, just didn't understand what he was asking. And she was just like, what are you guys doing here? What? And then we all just stood there in silence for a second. And then he was like, yeah, you need to go. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I think I like even was sassy. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing down here?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Amazing. And let's see. I think last rapid fire question is, would you play again?
Yeah. I think both of us, yeah.
I think I would do it a little differently. Make sure my body could handle it again. But yeah.
Yay, I love it. And just to kind of wrap things up, so obviously this was a charity event. Ciarra, you had a little bit of a special moment where Barry decided to change his charity from his to yours at the last minute, which I found out about as I was filming his last words live stream and almost
I was crying.
When you found that out, how did you find that out, and kind of what was your reaction to that?
Barry just came over and told me. We were sitting over by the jury chairs, and he was like, oh, by the way, I changed my charity to yours. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, after you told me your story, it just really touched me. And I decided that, you guys can use that money too. So that was really, really, really cool, especially because Barry and I barely got to play together. I mean, we, make eyes across, the field during challenges and stuff and smile. But other than that, we never really.
Barry was on OG Blue and then New Green. So there was not a lot of overlap time. That's for sure. Lovely. So, okay, if both of you can just, as a last kind of thing, just again, shout out your charity. Let us know one last time what you were playing for, who you were playing for.
You
Go
can
ahead,
go
Caitlin.
first. Oh, you want me to go? I played for Running Passion, which is a charity based in Southern Maine that was in honor of actually my past track coach who passed away. And now it just kind of brings for children, they can like go to nationals if they can't afford it. They get free shoes, they get scholarships to college. So just a really great organization. If you haven't heard of it before, I encourage you to go look on their website.
For me, mine is Unearth Potential, which is actually my son's therapy clinic. He is autistic and nonverbal. He will be 8 in a couple of months. But until he started working with them, he literally had never said any words. And so he just started working with them a little over a year ago, like during the pandemic. And like he now has maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 words that he says consistently. He's able to communicate with us his needs. And he's so much happier and less frustrated. So I just wanted to help them out. They're a small business and they're currently the only clinic in the area offering services for autistic kids. And so they are currently only renting out a couple of rooms in a community college. So they're hoping to move into a bigger space and help to facilitate more kids being able to get therapy. So
absolutely. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you for the time and thank you for being part of our very first season. You both made the season absolutely fantastic in what it is. And we're so glad that both of you were a big, big part of it. So thank you. And until next time, and I'm like waving, but it's off screen.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yay.